Welcome everybody on the second episode of the Minimum Viable podcast. Today we're going to discuss in more details the latest evolution and consequences of the AI wave, so to speak. We discussed it last time, and it's been a month already, and we see some evolution. So, what we're going to discuss is going to be actual use cases we can see in our professional lives, beyond beyond the hype, what is actually being done at scale there. Then we're going to, of course, discuss the societal debates about systemic risks of AI and the potential job displacements, as well as what should be the response to this is the AI pause advocated by Elon Musk and the other signatories of this famous letter, A Good Idea or Not. And we'll then move on to discussing I would say, philosophical impact of AI. Is there a great averaging risk due to AI? And we'll have a discussion on that. And finally, last time we talked about Facebook strategy, Meta strategy there. And especially with LLaMA, we said it would be a good idea if they made it open source, and they're kind of doing so right now. So it's good. It's good to know that they are listeners of the Minimum Viable podcast, and now we can inform their future strategy as to what should they do next. Okay, first the use cases. Who wants to jump in first? Maybe Daniel, you've seen this uh,
Sure.
firsthand.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously from the last episode, I've been always talking about this structuring use case in general, and in general, and also applied on this whole CV matching thing. Still working on it, still getting better with it. And I've seen also a few other, let's say, use cases at this point, and I've looked specifically in insurance as well. And here, same thing. This like how GPT can be used to get structure out of random data, not random data, but like unstructured data, is truly amazing. So looking into, I don't know, for example, when you do risk assessment from an insurer, you have some business, you're taking a look at, and you scrape a bunch of website data, a bunch of reviews online, like a whole huge data set. You go through it, you find structure with GPT and use this to give it some kind of risk score. It's
Yes,
amazing. I
so the
mean,
underwriting.
for
But
example,
then
yeah,
you got into the economics, right? Because you of course have to use tokens to feed it data. So first of all, is
yes,
there a limit on tokens that you can use and how much data you can feed it?
of course, there's a limit. So 4,000 tokens right now, but with GPT-4, we're gonna have, I think, over 30,000. And Charles, we talked about this once, I think, at some random conversation we had, where I was like I was thinking about generating a whole book out of it, right? And with
Yeah,
30,000 tokens, you can actually start generating novels in like two
I
or
know,
three.
I know, I
It's
know.
amazing,
That's
right?
wonderful. My publisher will
It's
be so hyped. Yes, I'm planning. I'm
maybe
actually using it. It's a good point.
really
Okay.
interesting.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I can discuss this later on. Okay,
sure.
very interesting. So you've seen this in insurance, and how evolved is it?
You mean insurance or in general, the
Now
structure?
the use case. So the use case you've seen. Let's take the
Well,
insurance. Is it like currently deployed at scale? Is it
the
proof
insurance
of
one
concept?
has a huge issue. So the insurance one, it's a big issue, and it's actually interesting. Is the whole data privacy stuff, right? Right. I mean, sure. Taking like scraping data, well, that's also, I don't know if you can always do that. That's maybe okay, but if you go into an insurance, it's very quickly you get into the space of really um let's say private data. People start getting really worried. So this is also where I think so this is something that GPT will always have an issue with, I think, or OpenAI. I don't know how they will solve this. And this is where Aleph Alpha, for example, I heard actually one or two people come to me and ask me specifically, not due to some performance or whatever, or because they want to have a German model, but it's simply because of this whole data privacy. They're like, look, I don't want to use GPT. I want to use Aleph Alpha. Daniel, please tell me, you know, can I use it? How good is performance? Is it good enough? And if yes, then I'll use it, right? So I think, so I haven't seen the insurance one like at full scale yet, because there's a few things that are still, you know, a few open questions with the data privacy there. So, and this is also where maybe Aleph Alpha helps. I haven't seen it yet though. And yeah, and also these open source models that you can run yourself, maybe. If they had a good license, that would be amazing, because then you could host it yourself and you could, you know, deal with the whole privacy thing yourself. And it would enable you to do that. So maybe also, but that's a different, we're going to come to the meta thing later, but that's actually pretty interesting, maybe a plan that they could have with this. So yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. Thomas, have you come across interesting actual business use case?
Yeah. There's a few. I was having conversations with a lawyer actually, and they used it themselves to help preparing some kind of summarizing some kind of financial information for some notes, financial reporting, and basically had incredible efficiency gains. That was cool. That was something this person said that it took, I think, 4 hours for this task, and previously it was, I don't know, 3 days or something like this, which I find amazing. I did the same thing, preparing part of the notes for the company, especially when it comes to economic outlooks and industry development.
No one reads those
history.
anyways.
I know. But anyways, you have to do them. And I use GPT as well, and it gave me really bad results, even false ones. I always asked it for the source, and I checked the source, and the source told me differently. So that was something I was a little bit surprised. I know that the results are not super reliable, but there were major, these were basically major errors. If I would have used it without double checking, not good. I know nobody reads it anyways, but anyhow. So
That's the
this is
famous
something I
reliability
learned.
issue.
No, I
Reliability
learned
issue.
this now, and I think right now I'm pretty bullish concerning this. I think this will be solved over time. But right now, if you use it this way, I think always double check. You can use it to sketch something out, probably, or basically get inspiration. And but check the facts. No, that is something I learned. But more than that, in the meantime, I didn't see more than that. Yeah.
No, okay. No, very interesting though, because that issue of reliability has come up a lot, and also the thing of using it to summarize unstructured data, which is a been linking to what Daniel said. Okay, very cool. I can share my own experience with what I'm working on right now at for one of my company's clients. So that's actually in sales, and so there's a lot of programs out there to have basically AI write all the emails for salespeople, help them get their playbook and all that. And so basically, we're doing this for a big insurance company. And but what's interesting is that what I've observed is there's like a psychological effect, and I talked about it a bit last time, and now it's been confirmed through some actual experiment and data. Is because it gives basically you just need to give the slightest of prompts, and you already have the whole thing set up. Then it means that you have a bit less, I would say, skin in the game, and you have also less of this, empty page issue, right? You start from a blank page and I don't know what to say, and it very easily helps you to get the conversation going. So you don't need to be afraid. Just 1 second. Okay. Yeah, there was some issues that Okay, somebody was ringing anyway. So yeah, so it helps. It helps doing this, and so therefore we could get some people who are not initially salespersons, who are engineers and so on, who did not have the experience, but they felt it was less of an issue to start a conversation, even if they were introverts or and so on, because they could just have the first email would be written, and then they would just need to modify it, tweak it to run, and so forth. So I think it also helps remove this kind of initial conversation opener, initial step that can be daunting for a lot of people. And as we know, the human brain is wired to start from an existing solution and then improve much more than to create ex nihilo. And I think one of the greatest effects would be to basically give this initial spark, and then we just have to complete it. And it reminded me of a poem by Paul Valéry, who said, I'm translating from French, but who said, God gave us the first verse, and we just need to make it rhyme. And I think it speaks to that. Basically the AI gives you the first verse, and then you just need to make it rhyme, and it's much more easy.
This is high quality content. Amazing.
Oh.
I'm just like, you prepared this.
It was so good. No, really.
Beautiful. If
Sure.
I can
basically truly have GPT write the summary for our next podcast, so then we don't even need to think about all those ideas.
I like that.
Yeah.
I can add a few things here. Like there's two things, right, that you said. Not only just so first of all, that you have people who are maybe not like fully salespeople, like get into it, right, or maybe introverted, right. And the second part was the whole, getting, this motivation basically, or getting the first version out. And like for the first part, it's very funny. You know what I did? I actually, as I'm not a designer, right? I'm an engineer. And so my stuff looks okay, let's say. I can't do like super amazing stuff, especially like if it's not a web app, if it's like some kind of report or whatever, some looks okay, but it's not amazing. What I did is I actually used Midjourney. So I created a small report for a company, basically detailing use cases, the potential and all of that of using AI in insurance right now. So this is where this whole insurance stuff comes in. So I analyzed this whole thing. And I went to Midjourney on Discord, and this is actually amazing how easy this works. And like this was my first time a few weeks ago. And I'll share my screen in a second. Created the most fucking amazing images you will see for insurance with AI coupled in some way or another, right? And then obviously generated the text with GPT, then iterated on it. I mean, and then suddenly
With
you had
DALL-E?
no, I mean the text with GPT and the images with Midjourney. So it's actually not.
Okay.
And then suddenly I had this report as a fucking engineer, which looks like I'm a consultant like for the last 10 years, right? It's beautiful. It has all this information, beautiful tables, like all the whole thing. And I'm like, whoa, holy shit, that's I do programming, right? And I did this just like that. And I was blown away. And then I'm sending this people, they're like, wow, yeah, that looks really amazing. I'm like, yeah, cool, right? I can do this now. And that, like, let's say a month ago or 2 months ago, I would have been completely like lost, right? This would look like shit. It would be some random Word document without good formatting. It would be horrible, right? I'll share that image.
Can bring, let's see the beauty.
Better double check your content.
One sec. Let me open up. Okay, let's see. Share screen. So check this out. This is amazing.
Oh,
look! Just take a look. This image on the right. That's the thing, right? I mean, that's just.
Yeah, what does it mean though?
Yeah,
that's deep, but I don't really know what it means.
Come on, man.
We live in a post-apocalyptic world where we live in a vegetal world.
No, come on.
World. That's what it means. Yes.
It's car insurance, dude. It's with the fucking that's the safety.
It's the umbrella. Yeah. But why is it green? Okay, it's green car insurance. I understand.
Yes.
For only electric EV cars. Yes.
That's
Ecologically viable.
That's not what I
It's quite
meant, but
nice.
that's definitely how you can interpret it, and I like it. See, it brings it's really
Really.
interesting.
It's the
Yeah.
4 art tests of yeah.
I thought
Okay,
this is
quite
kind of
interesting.
a novel kind of an insurance for these kind of cars you find in very old buildings. They're full of dust and all that stuff.
That's the future. With inflation soon, that's
Yeah.
all we can afford, and so that's the future.
All these electric cars, and some old guys just store their V8 and all that in some kind of garage, and then 30 years later,
What is there? What is there? A wheel on the side?
Hey,
insurance.
that's an old timer, dude. Didn't you know? I think old timers have, though it's not placed strategic.
Yeah, but not that
That's-
high into the. But okay,
That's
let's see.
that's your hedge against German roads,
I understand.
We
Okay,
have kind of
but
some
but
infrastructure.
it's a good point because
The message is clear, right? I mean,
and now I know that in the so talking with people who are artists and designers and so forth, I know in a lot of industries, and especially video game industries, now by contract you have to sign a contract that you're not going to use AI generated art.
Yeah.
And you have to produce it yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
how can they prove it though?
Yeah, how can they prove it? And secondly, why should you do that? I mean,
exactly.
if it generates really good stuff, why would you not use it?
I heard the
That's
story.
not what I don't get.
I can guarantee it's actually true. I've checked it with several designers who worked in the industry.
I can agree on that. Like I know in the SEO space, that's also right now because generating blog posts and all that. But the thing is, Google is penalizing AI content right now, at least. So you're getting fucked over if you're getting AI generated stuff.
They know it's AI content? That's a good question. How do they check?
They have really
need
good
to
models.
have the same prompt.
Well, they have really good models. Google has a really strong model as well. It's not like they're behind. So Google is really strong. They just never went public with it. They do have a really strong model. If you look at the papers.
What I mean is that there's a cost to check. Because if you want to check something, if it's AI generated, there's two ways to do it, right? Number one is you rerun it basically, and you kind of reverse engineer the prompt. So you're saying what would be the prompt for that content, and if you use this prompt, does it give the same content? That's the way you would do it, right? But that costs a ton of energy. That could cost a ton of tokens. So I guess the other way is you don't reverse engineer the prompt. You just do some statistical analysis that because do they have like common given the words that you have? Is there like a high proximity between the words?
Well,
that
GPT,
if it's too high,
yeah. It generates certain structure though. You can even humans like sometimes I see it in online forums on Hacker News or Reddit that people they're like, is that GPT generated? And then people say even humans can oftentimes right now at least see if this is generated by GPT. So an AI model can do this for sure then, and they can. So they're using.
If you don't specify the prompts, but let's see beyond GPT. If you're a professional, if you really specify the prompt and you can rework it and so forth, it becomes.
That's not how it's done though. That's a version. That's an option, yes, but that's not how it's done. They don't try to reverse engineer the prompt, and they don't go this way. What you just described, they just take it at face value and then put it into an AI model, and the AI model basically, tells you if this is AI generated or not. So they don't do this in this way because then they would have to use GPT. The same model, right? Then Google would have to use the same model with GPT to find if this is GPT generated. They don't do that. And that would be too costly. I mean, how much do they scrape every day? Like millions of websites.
But then soon with the GPT, GPT-4 is already there, GPT-5 soon. Maybe at some point it's going to be in this.
Yeah, exactly. That's the issue. That's an issue. That's true. Yeah.
I think that
issues and risks that that's a nice segue to the next segment. So about the risk, and Thomas, you had some pretty strong opinions on this. So why don't you start?
Yeah. First of all, I have just a quick question concerning your use case. is this so what you are doing then is basically helping technical sales guys create outbound mailings. Yeah, is that what it happens?
It goes beyond. It goes much beyond that. That's like just a narrow use case. The whole thing is we're using it to generate the leads, identify the leads, have the prompts and so forth. And it's not just for mailing, because it's also for all kind of channels of communications.
Okay, that's super. Okay, maybe if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, maybe also in the next episode or so. But that is crazy. Yeah, if you could do this like in real time or something like this in an actual conversation, holy moly, yeah, that would be something I would be super curious to learn more. I mean, the mailing is super clear, but if it
it's not remote. No, it's not going to be done in real time, but it's because there's no need. It's in an asynchronous way. So it's for high value contracts, and so you have the sales guy, and so they get so they don't know who the client is, right? And so what they usually do is that they kind of they Google the client very quickly. And what is done now is that automatically you have this kind of the summaries that generated. You have the top 5 arguments you can use, and so forth. And of course, the model has also been trained on, of course, proprietary company data as well. So it's not in real time, but it's in asynchronous way. And so that way, when they go to the client, they say, okay, your business is this. This is the why, how we can help you, what kind of risk we can help you insure, and all that stuff.
And I mean, it's very interesting, but what is the reason for that? Is that because they don't have a sales playbook there, or is it not working, or do they have so much
because it can
freedom,
really
or what
improve,
is?
because the sales playbook is going to be very vague, and so it's for cybersecurity stuff, and so you really need to understand the business of the company you're talking to, right? So if you want to ensure cybersecurity risk, it's not the same if it's an industrial company or energy company, and you have some specific notion. If it's, for example, we tested this, and if the company says in the website like it's international and so forth, then automatically, of course, the prompt is going to be around we can help you in multiple geographies, so therefore you are exposed to multiple legal systems, and your risk therefore is compounded with all the data privacy thing and so forth. And so that's a very strong argument for a business. So the way it was done before is that it was, yes, you had this kind of tip typology, but it was based on statistical analysis. And so for that specific example, what happened is that you assume that large companies have this kind of LGBT global issue, and small companies don't have it. But what actually happens when we tried this is that there was a much better conversion rate of smaller companies, because you have a lot of small companies which are actually international. And so that the statistical analysis would not take that into account. But if you have like done this, if you do it basically, and you analyze the website of each company you're talking to, then you can get a lot of insights that you don't have in the standard playbook.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Really cool. Maybe that is something we could discuss further sometimes in the future, because I think that's absolutely awesome use case. Yeah, and makes total sense. Okay, but for our next
yes, the risks.
Next point,
the AI pose.
The AI pose, yeah. Okay, that leads us a little bit to this systemic risk kind of discussion that's going on. We had this AI pause kind of letter that was signed from Elon Musk, amongst others, and they're basically saying we should stop researching on AI for, I don't know, half a year or something like this, 6 months.
Yeah.
Because it's too scary. The uncertainty, the unknowns kind of outcomes from AI are too high. They see large risk for society whatsoever. And this is the reason why they say we should stop working on it for at least half a year, make a pause, and then I don't know, start working on it 6 months later. So what is your opinion about this? Yeah, what do you think about this and the systemic risk in general?
I mean, honestly, I seen this on LinkedIn. I commented like instantly, like, and this comment got a few likes. Basically, it's just they're behind and they need some, they they just need to get into the race again, because OpenAI really, went forward with all of this. It's my very
OpenAI and Microsoft didn't sign, yeah? Satya
Yeah.
Nadella and Sam Altman, yeah?
Exactly. That says everything, right? I mean, that's my very pragmatic opinion here. This is no, I think for real though. I think that these guys are. I don't know if they even meant it. With Elon Musk, you never know if he really means things. Like with the Twitter, when he wanted to buy it, then he didn't want it, and then he
Or
had
it was just
to.
a meme. Yeah.
It's just memes oftentimes with him, right? But I don't know. There's definitely some players who are really strong right now, which is obviously OpenAI, and some who are now realizing, holy shit, we gotta get going. So,
But besides of this, okay, you would say that this is, in your opinion, a tactical move, kind of?
I think so, for sure. There's no way that
Or
this
is there a deeper meaning concerning systemic risk arising from AI research? Charles, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, what are the risks they are talking about then? Because I think it's a good question. Let's say there's a risk, but what are the risks? And I think there are a couple of risks, but the risk they are really worried about, and like even politicians and so forth are really worried, is not necessarily the risk that is usually put forward. So the usual risk going forward, I think there are three buckets, and maybe I missed some, so tell me if that's the case. But I think there's one risk that is around uh, black box. So kind of every company use AI. For example, in the financial system, every company use AI to assess financial risk, let's say of a country. But then, or a company, right? But then, if all the bank use the same system, and basically they all use ChatGPT, as you described, Daniel, to analyze the risk profile of a company, then you actually have huge correlation because the risk modeling are all correlated, and nobody knows that they are correlated. So you kind of have uncorrelated risk, and beyond that, you kind of go to have all this black box, and that potentially creates some unknown correlation. The other bucket of risk is job displacement. It's been talked a lot, and I think can discuss that at length. And the third risk, and I think it's not really the risk that is put forward, but that really worries the governments and politicians, is basically the kind of risk of radicalization or social destabilization, because you've seen how with social media the whole issue was how do you kind of monitor content, and you suppress speech or hate speech and all that thing, right? And then it's extremely worried if you have an AI that doesn't have this control. Then let's say you're a government and you want to maintain social stability. So in social media, people talk in public, so you can monitor that. But with an AI, you can never be 100% sure of what the answer is going to be, and you could have some people who then discuss with it. So you don't monitor and you don't know in what direction that takes them, and in your interest, maybe not the general good, but in your interest as a kind of a ruler and as a governing body, you want to make sure that nobody goes in a direction that's against the grain of society too much. And I guess that's what gets a lot of people worried right now, and that's probably why you have a lot of governmental bodies that are very much in favor of this regulation. That's my view, and I think this one is not put forward to the public because it's kind of a hard sell. Because then you say, yeah, we want to monitor what people say and so forth. It's a bit of a hard sell, but I think that's one of the real reasons behind the drive.
Makes sense. Daniel, you have something to add here?
No, but yeah, those are definitely the risks that I agree on. The thing is, the 6 months, right? This is how we started. Won't change anything there, right? I mean, in all of those. So, but yeah, I've seen a few firsthand actually with the job risk stuff. I've been seeing like more and more, like obviously online you see some stories of people. If a graphical designer can do the same job in like half the time, then why the fuck do you still need 4 graphical designers, right? But I've seen
You
also
see a lot of crazy stuff online, though. So
yeah, exactly.
also to see the guy who says, "I'm running 20 jobs at the same time."
Yeah, well, 20, that's a bit much, but yeah. No, but I've seen also some like friends of mine, like one guy, he's how do you call it? Like some junior, like, or maybe not junior, but like a normal bank that you have in some city, right? He's an analyst where you go to if you want a credit or something, right? And he's
clerk.
been the clerk, exactly, that's the word. And he's been actually feeling pressure. That's he told me that his CDO, chief data officer, has been like, going through all departments and looking around what people do, and he's actually been feeling a bit of pressure and fear. Well, he's always very fearful, to be honest, but now specifically when it gets so close to you, right, it's even worse. So I think a lot of people are also starting to feel pressure and the fear, and this is also like a whole like societal thing that suddenly there's a lot of uncertainty, right? I mean, people like all these very like CTOs, CDOs, chief data officers, they start looking around in their departments and all that, and you're like, am I the next, right? So yeah, agree on that. Definitely agree on that.
Okay. It's interesting. So okay.
And the consultants,
The issue,
the worst. Consultants, they start looking around in companies. Oh shit.
Yeah.
I don't. So yeah, they go into companies. Sometimes you do that too. I find it interesting what Charles said concerning risk correlation in the banking system. Makes a lot of sense. That is something that's a black box. That is something that's very dangerous. That's completely true. However, the banking system also without AI is dangerous. So I don't think that adds too much.
So we should all buy silver. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, silver bullets.
It's very interesting, though. Yeah,
but this is an actual risk that can occur out of the application of AI. What we are, that is something it's a fair point. What I am annoyed, honestly, about is that the major discussion is not about these actual applications. The major discussion is about societal impact. Yeah. First of all, this kind of fake news kind of stuff. Yeah. Of course, we saw these pictures, like artificially generated pictures from Angela Merkel with Barack Obama on the beach having a nice time. At the same time, Donald Trump gets busted from police and some things like this. Yeah.
Undisputed warlord of Manhattan.
Yeah,
that stuff happens.
All that. Okay, good. I think that is something that can be solved, in my opinion. It's super clear that governments want to regulate on this part, but this is all these discussions annoy me, honestly. Also, this job risk thing. I think it's a good thing what happens right now for our society. People should actually start thinking about what they're doing on a daily basis. What kind of job do I have? And also for the younger generation, is it really adding value to be the next kind of graphic designer whatsoever? If you have a kind of creative character or something like this, think about working with your own hands again. Think about things that cannot be replaced, at least on the short run.
But robots are
from automation. What?
Robots are next. Robots. I mean, we now have the AI, So now robots are next.
It's more of a paradox.
I have a little bit background in automation and robotics, as you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
At least I like this field a lot, manufacturing. And we had this discussion there since the 70s, something like this, when the first robot wave came up. And
it did have an impact though on job displacement, the robotization in the industry. I mean, it's part of it was it's been exported to China now and Southeast Asia, but part of it is also it's been robotized, and you have so less of the workforce that works into the industrial sector.
Why is the manufacturing mainly outsourced to these cheap labor countries? Why?
And now it's changing, right? Because
Why?
it's no longer that they're cheap labor, it's that they have the best automation.
Yeah, that's true. The robot density is highest in China, also Korea. These countries there, because they're making smart moves. But the main question, I mean, it's so clear. If you automate manual tasks, you increase productivity. Productivity increase leads to higher margins. Higher margins give you more headroom to be competitive. Yeah. So this is something which is good, yeah, and which creates theoretically more jobs, yeah. So there is no the jobs change, yeah. You cannot expect the people to do the same thing for decades. It just changes.
Agreed.
Why do you think it adds a lot of value also to mankind to stand in front of a machine and manually load and unload it? A CNC machine or something like this. Completely stupid. It makes absolutely no sense. This is completely dumb work, yeah, dull work as they call it, and it should be automated. And the guy who's doing that job can be used for other jobs, for other tasks inside of the factory. Yeah? So if done properly, this is the result.
What about creative jobs? Like let's take a UI designer. So he's just much more efficient now. So he can do 4 times the work now, which is cool, right?
It's perfect. It's perfect.
It's cool.
I think work. I mean, that is what should happen. That is what should happen if done right. My opinion, increase your personal productivity. What happens right now? I think it's also something we discussed last time already, and today also with the use case. The question is, there is no standard. Yeah, so we are in a phase where we experiment with the technology. So companies, larger corporates have to understand and are just at least that's my perception. They don't know how to use it. Yeah, I mean, Microsoft now fuels the Office suite with AI. What does it mean? Nobody really knows. Probably will increase productivity. We will find it out pretty soon. But if you want to stay competitive in a kind of very competitive industry or environment, also on a task basis, okay, get proficient with these tools and make yourself be better than your competitors. Yeah, and if you are, I don't know, yeah, and so
I think the main
kind
point,
that is clear. But what I want to say is, the bottom line for me is, okay, that's the bigger picture. Then once again, I like to go to this meta level all the time. I think probably we have too many people in all these kind of desktop kind of jobs.
White collar jobs, I think.
White collar
so we
jobs.
should all go back to cultivating the land and doing things with our own hands and all that. That neo-authorism.
No, but if you consider craft works, yeah, that's also a deflationary measure. Yeah, if we would have enough people who are actually embracing the possibility of trades. Yeah, so plumbers, electricians, we don't have these people anymore because we all sent them to college, we all sent them to university, and we get average.
Agree, actually.
No, we get average results. We are yeah, from the study results, we always say, China and Asia, they are so much smarter than us. No, they just work more and they are more passionate because they have more urgency. We just send everybody to university, to college. This is not what should happen. We should give people, we should help them find out the right talent, yeah, and help them work on their strengths. And there is people who are just not suited for this kind of jobs, which is good. Yeah, if my son is too young, yeah, but if he would be older, I said, go make craft business. It's amazing what I have friends making insane amounts of money, really decently. It's working super well because we have such a shortage of skilled labor there.
Of our should change the name of the podcast. Next podcast, MVP, minimum viable plumbing. And we try to run a plumbing business using AI to help us learn the craft actually, and finding the clients and so forth.
I'm a big friend of traditional business. I love that. You guys know that.
Me too.
That's very
good. Me too.
Absolutely. So next step.
Me too. It sounds. I don't want us to, like go back to the hunting and farming kind of era, but I'm just saying what happens right now is healthy, because if AI is so capable to replace some dull jobs, good for everyone, because
but I think that's not going to happen though. I think that's not going to happen though, and here's why. I was reading because to prepare for this podcast, which I'm preparing, as you know, very assiduously. I read Aristotle's Politics, and there's one at the very beginning. There's one sentence, and he basically justifies slavery in the whole book. That's basically the first chapter is, and he says, we need slavery because, of course, the linen is not going to get to get sued, is not going to sew itself into clothes, and so that's why we need slaves. But that's why we need slaves, so people like me basically can spend not me, right, but Aristotle, and so I can spend some time thinking about metaphysics, and that's it. And so without it, I could not think about metaphysics, and what a loss for humanity. But the corollary of this is, of course, if you get your linen that gets sewed automatically, which is the case today, then everybody would just think about metaphysics all the time. So that was kind of the vision of Aristotle. And I think, however, that's wrong, because we know that the automation has not kind of diminished. I mean, it's now everything can be automated to live at the standards of Greek antiquity, and none of us is spending all their day thinking about art and metaphysics, and we all do dumb job. And I think there's a fundamental reason for that, is we do need to do dumb job as a society, because it's very dangerous to have people being idle, of course, right? And also spending too much time thinking about what their place should be in society, what is the moral good, because then because every society is a hierarchy, and then a lot of people are going to get extremely unhappy about the situation, and you create social instability. So I think that's why technology has never led to a net job loss, and we all have all those make busy jobs that emerge. And I think a lot of the tertiary and service economy has a lot of busy making jobs, and that will continue, because no society can remain stable if you have a vast swath of the population. That's why I don't think it's going to be easy, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of people in a post-scarcity paradise thinking about life, because that's a very, very dangerous thing.
Yeah, I think that's clear. We have a very philosophical episode today. I love it. Uh, uh, I think, if you see, I think it's a very good thing for society because it leads us to ask the right questions, in my opinion. If you see what happens to our healthcare system, what kind of job situations we have there, if we could free up people from dumb tasks and let them do what they really enjoy, yeah, I think that increases productivity by a lot, yeah, and everything, yeah. So I think we have to redefine what labor and what work is and how we interpret it. I think that hopefully happens in the future. And if AI is able to fuel this discussion and accelerate this discussion, perfect, because otherwise it doesn't work. I fully agree. What we should not envision is a situation where half of the population is unemployed and sits in or plays in the metaverse or whatsoever the whole day. I don't know what's the the vision for that, but this is something that cannot be the right solution. So yeah, let's see. But food for thought. Yeah,
For thought, for
I
sure.
think. Yeah.
For sure. Bringing us to our last two topics. The penultimate topic is going to be about. I mean, it's a thesis I have, and I know Daniel disagree. Thomas, I don't know if you agree or not, so we're gonna see. It's
Actually,
will
maybe
I be
I'm not
alone?
sure if I disagree. Talk about it.
Okay. Okay, I'll make the case anyway. So the case is that there's kind of the upper limit of AI. So they call the great averagization or return to the mean to AI. And the fundamental argument is this: is AI is based on content that has already been produced, and that's how its model is trained. So that creates two elements. Is one, philosophically, you could say that AI is always backward looking because it can always react to content that has been created by the collective sum of humanity, right? So if I ask GPT to tell me what are the systemic risks of in this particular industry, it's going to be based on patterns that have been taken from all the content that has been produced. But can it consider something entirely new? I know there's an argument that you can train AI on itself. Like it generates and then you train on its by reinforced learning and so forth on its own generation. But nonetheless, I think there's an argument here to be made that it's fundamentally backward looking. So I kind of put a cap on it. And the other cap is it's also trained on large data sets of text and so forth, which are the sum total of content production. And so therefore, if I take a very broad definition, you could say that the IQ of AI is going to converge to 100 because it's based on all the content and all the pattern that it can identify are based on something that is generated by a very vast amount of people. And therefore, it's going to converge with the average intelligence of a human. I'm taking the example of writing, for example. As you know, as a writer myself, of course, the AI has been trained on a vast amount of text. So yes, it can write something decently, and it can write, but it's never going to write as one of the great writers of history because the data set is going to be too small to kind of imitate that style. So therefore, it's content of an average writer. And I'm not sure that even the greatest evolution of the model, even GPT-5, is going to change that fundamental component. So for me, that's going to be a potential upper limit of AI, backward looking and reversal to the mean.
I think the backward looking thing though, like, or maybe I have a question back. So for instance, when you do science, when you create a new paper, like you do like some academic science, right? What you do is obviously you do experiments and so on, but let's take it to let's take as an example like theoretical science. How do humans do science? We don't like sit there and we come up with something new, right? We take like something new. Okay, you're not agreeing already.
You're not
We
contemplating the
always
truth
Sorry?
in the ether. So is it not how you do science, Daniel?
No, but look, what I'm trying to say is basically you always mix something that you already know, right? That's how you come up with something new. You as a person, you have a certain knowledge set, you have a certain experience set of experience, set of knowledge. And when you do something, let's say new, it's a mix of all the things that you've experienced, and it's basically usually a mix. And AI basically in the same way, I don't see why it wouldn't be able to be forward looking in terms of content, let's say, and create something new. I mean, we're already seeing something new. I showed before the screen share with this car and so on. And this has never been seen in this world. This is something completely new. So I would assume at least. And so I would say in this regard, in terms of like, it is not just backward looking. I believe a huge like not GPT-3 maybe, but a huge model that really incorporates much more data than GPT-3 does already, like a lot more about our science, a lot like everything basically that we have. I don't think GPT has everything. I do think that this could be a model that can come up with really new insights also in science and whatever. So I would say,
but agreed. I guess I'll reformulate what I meant is that in experimental science, maybe not fundamental ones, but
experimental is a bit tougher.
But anyway, I'll reformulate my statements because I think you're right. It can create new combinations, and through that you can actually test new hypotheses. Especially of course, if it's experimental science, of course. What I'm meaning is okay. If you talk on philosophical terms, is because it's based. What I mean is, artificial intelligence is always going to be human intelligence. Because it's trained on human knowledge, and whatever a human produce is based on some. If you take a Kantian view, it's based on some a priori conditions of the experience. So so AI is trained on human formalized experience in writing, and formalized experience. As humans, we have those a priori conditions of experience. We have an a priori sensation of what time is, for instance, and so on. And so therefore, AI will always embark those a priori conditions of the experience because that's what it's trained on. And it's actually very reassuring because you have all those discussions about how AI can be, rogue, how AI could become a completely alien to humanity. But I think in the way actually we currently train it, it's never going to be alien to humanity because it will embark the a priori conditions of consciousness are automatically baked into AI.
I totally agree. I get the point.
Point.
I get the point that it's. I get it now with the whole like it's trained on human data. That's the thing. Yeah. So how would it go above that? So I get that point. But what I think is that maybe because you also did this example of having a certain style of a certain writer, right? But not having enough. Like just 2 books from him, right? So that's all.
Yeah, that's a return to the mean. Yeah, that's the other argument.
Yeah. I think though different architectures, like I'm talking not data, but architectures now, like model architectures, the way they actually work, on a technical level, I think they could be something that fix that or enable, let's say, this kind of thing. But I still agree though what you're saying about this whole we're training them on human data. Yeah, totally agree on that though. That definitely makes sense. Yeah, I mean, how would they go? They just become. What I don't agree with is I think your usage of the terminology like of IQ, let's say, right? I do think that AI, if you say IQ is knowledge, okay, or content, yes, sure, but if you take IQ in a different like in a different setting, the types of problems that you can solve or whatever, then I think this AI will definitely overtake us like 1,000x, 10,000x, that's for sure. But on the content side, yeah, I agree on that. But still, like architectures could maybe enable stuff like having certain style where you only have like 2 books, and mixing with certain.
How would you do that? How would it work then?
No idea. I'm not.
No, but how would architecture help on the technical side, right? I'm not sure I follow here.
I'm not deep enough in this. I would have to be an NLP researcher, but what I can say, I guess, is some random idea would be that you have certain prioritization on this, small data set, or I do think that architectures, just from what I've seen, what said, GPT is also enabled by its architecture, right? This transformer, let's say, model, which I think a few years, I think 2017 or something was proposed, is what enabled GPT today. So I do believe that architectures have a huge impact and they can enable use cases like this. I wouldn't be able to give you one because then I'd be able to, publish a new paper basically today. But the idea is that I do believe that they can have an impact there.
That's for the next episode. You get your paper.
Yeah, until then,
and publish it.
Okay,
exactly.
yeah.
We should have plumbing, publishing new paper. We should have this kind of objectives.
That's a good output. I like that. New businesses and new science. Good.
Combination of both leads to innovation. Yeah. I have a hard time answering this question, Charles, honestly. I think if AI could be viewed as a accelerator of innovation, I think that's good enough. So if we even if it's trained on basically human data, if it's able to find new kind of patterns more accurately or more faster, that's, I think, already something and generates new insights, yeah, or new truths, yeah, which would have taken humans a little bit longer. That doesn't mean it's much smarter than we are, but it's more efficient in how it works. I think that is something which is a desirable outcome, if that could work. And if we have the compute power like QC, probably a little bit later, that could be an enabler for developments like that.
QC and DNA storage and all that thing. Yes, we should do a full cyberpunk episode, like on the aesthetics of QC and biopunk someday.
Yeah.
Daniel, you have everything on that, on the bio as well, on biocomputing, inside information. Okay. Giving to last points is so last time we accurately predicted, or other hypothesis is the top executive at Meta actually listened to our podcast on that they should make LLaMA open source. So Meta should make LLaMA open source in order to kind of because they are late into the race and in order to gain some users and also to establish themselves, because it's too late. They did it partially. You tell us more, Daniel, on that. But what I gathered that they opened it for people working on some scientific projects. So you need to have like an .edu address and all that stuff. But still, it's been leaked on 4chan, and actually some people could get in without having been to those kind of selected institutions of learning. So but it's the first step towards open source. So question is, what's next for Meta? Since they are listening, what should they do next? What's the next good move for them?
I have a good move for them. I think I have a really good move for them. First of all, though, like I think one thing, why would you even open source something like this, right? And I think one thing which just came into my mind while you were speaking is that again, it's about the architectures, right? If you let scientists in your model, LLaMA or whatever you call it, right? And let them play around basically for free. You get free improvement of your model, right? I think that's one gamble that you can take. Like GPT is, wait, actually, but no, wait, they're publishing though, right? They're publishing, but it's costs something to test their model and to iterate on it. Costs a lot, actually. So I think, no, it actually still makes sense. If you open source your model completely like they did, I think you improve you gamble that scientists improve your model for free. I think that's one thing that why you would do that. Now, one tip I will give Meta executives who are right now listening, right, is basically what I think would be great is this is coming back to my data privacy argument that I had, is have some kind of pricing where I can use this model now. I can just buy it, right? And actually use it commercially, because what Meta is doing is they're open sourcing, but you cannot use it commercially. So you can use it for science, you can use it for private projects, which is great, but I mean, that's not where the money is, and this is just not interesting for me personally then, right? Also, if you have some contracts, for example, then, for example, I'm doing this decision often, right? I'm thinking about, look, should I use GPT? Should I use Aleph Alpha? Should I use some open source model? And I honestly, in such contracts, I can never go to these open source models, right? Even if I wanted to, maybe due to some reason. I mean, self-hosting, not.
But
even...
it's due to it's not due to the fact that it's open source, because you can have an open source model and you can use the result commercially.
Yeah, the license. Sorry, you're right. It's not about
used to the, but they can't keep it in open source as well. So should they do full license and go like fully private, or should they keep it as something open source and just remove the limitation and
that's what I mean. Well,
okay.
Well, actually, okay, to give them a tip, honestly, I wouldn't just remove it, because I would still try to make a price, like to make it, to make a flat pricing or whatever for it, that you can actually use it, because then they don't just give it away completely for free, right? I mean, that would be a bit, I don't know, that would be, then you can't make any money with it at all. If you do the license completely like open, not just open source, but like also you can use it commercially, then, or like
But then it could be, you could say it's a winner takes all situation, and you need to be first. And so, like it was in the early days of the internet, and so therefore, if everybody's using ChatGPT, you're going to lose that, even if your model is better, because it's already deployed at scale.
So you're saying that by making it like completely free right now, and removing all barriers like at all, right? And everyone can use it, that you want to capture the market. I get it. That makes sense.
That could be a plan.
Maybe it is. Maybe they're following Charles' strategy that he just revealed. No, they want to. Their market segment is actually is actually scientists. Yeah, as you make it non-commercially viable, so to say, or usable at the moment. Yeah. Nobody with commercial intent will use it, because why would you do that? So you basically train the model with scientifically top-notch, probably input, which makes it better, than other models. I'm not sure. could be a smart move, and later monetize it.
Yeah, we should tag a few of these executives, and maybe we can become consultants for some good daily rates. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea though.
Because Meta is in a tough situation. Their whole metaverse stuff has exploded, right? So nobody really cares about that anymore, and therefore they need to find a new thing. But so they are good with AI though, right? I think from what I've heard of, LLaMA is pretty good. I've heard that Jan LeCun, who's the head of AI, has tweeted that it is a cryptic tweet, but somebody said something about making it open source, and basically he answered that and said, "Yeah, I don't disagree." So he's not making the decision though, but that's an interesting sign, probably, towards open source. but I think they still need to catch up because there's two components to it. With the whole AI race, especially if you look at it, AI for business basically, which Facebook is also, their main clients are basically businesses at the end because they are selling advertising. So it's also how the use case is going to be just um, yes, enabled and so forth, because then it's probably going to be costly when you've trained something on your own data to change providers, and you would have switching costs. So I think there's also a rush to just get in there, and then you can always monetize.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Meta,
So yes.
tell us your strategy right now. We want to understand what you guys up to. Okay.
Actually, we're the guys doing the strategy.
We'll see next month. I mean, we'll see next month what they do, right? And let's see if they've listened. I think that's how they should run this experiment. You should see if they do the same
We
next month, then
validate.
we'll be pretty sure. Yes.
Nice, I like that.
Minimum month podcast validation.
Any parting words as we've covered many topics today? Any departing remarks?
I think we were really productive today. I mean, last time we didn't do so many topics. I think that was really good.
Yeah, I focused really on AI this time, but next time we'll have to go to some biopunk. I think that would be nice.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Looking forward.
Okay. Well, wonderful, and see you guys next time for episode 3 already. We're really becoming big.
All right.
Crazy.